Hi, I'm Linda Levy, and I have lived in Boca Raton, Florida since 1981.
And my name is Miriam Dallin, and I'm a volunteer interviewer for the Boca Raton Historical Society and Museum. The museum is conducting a series of interviews to document the development and growth of Boca Raton's Jewish community. Today is May 22nd, 2017, and I'm here in the television studio of Lynn University in Boca Raton, Florida with Linda Levy. Thank you so much for joining us today, Linda.
Thank you for having me.
And the purpose of this interview is to learn a little bit about the building up of the Jewish community of Boca Raton and the role that you yourself played in it. So why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about yourself, where you were born, where you grew up, and what some of the major influences were on your life from a Jewish perspective.
I was born in Miami Beach, Florida at Mount Sinai Hospital. My maiden name is Buchwald, and I was the youngest of 4 children. Born into a very traditional conservative home. We had a kosher home. We went to synagogue every Shabbos. We drove, but we went to synagogue every Shabbos. And Friday night was always Shabbos dinner. And my parents gave us a very committed, deep Jewish roots.
And were your parents born in the United States?
Yes, my parents were born in New York, both of them.
What about your grandparents? Did you know them?
Yes, my grandparents. My mother's parents lived in our backyard, in a home in our backyard, so they were very involved in our lives, and they were born in Poland. And my father's parents were also very involved in our lives. They lived in Miami Beach also, and they were born in Hungary.
Did you ever hear what town or what part of Poland or Hungary?
I probably did, but I can't recall off the top of my head. Yes.
It's okay.
So, yes, they were very involved in our lives. I attended Lehrman Day School, which was Temple Emmanuel, the big conservative synagogue in Miami Beach, had a day school, and I went there from preschool until 8th grade. Actually 9th grade, because high school started in 9th grade back then, and then I attended Miami Beach Senior High School. So I was a day school kid and had a very strong Jewish background. But I will tell you that probably the single most important Jewish thing that impacted my life was attending the Alexander Muss High School in Israel program when I was 16.
Oh,
yes.
Tell us about that.
So at the time, the Muss program was only Miami kids. It was not through nationwide. It was just the Miami kids. And I went for a semester during school, and it was in my 11th grade year. And so I took secular classes to keep up with my studies, as well as the High School in Israel program, which is still pretty much the same program as it is today. And the love of Israel and the love of being Jewish was just completely solidified in that program. There was nothing else. To this day, I can honestly say that that is probably the most impactful Jewish experience of my life. Mm-hmm. And 2 of my children attended the program. One of them was supposed to go, but it was the height of the Intifada, and she wasn't able to go.
Which Intifada?
Which one?
The first or the second?
Oh gosh, it was, let's see, I think it was the second, I'm not sure.
The first was 87, the second was 2000.
So it was, yes, it was in 2000. It was in 2000.
When you went, were your parents concerned about your safety at all in going, or?
No, my parents, my father especially, and I don't remember my mom's feelings, but my father especially. My dad was the kind of guy, I remember as a kid, we sat outside synagogue at the Yom Kippur War. We went to our car because we're not Orthodox, we were conservative, and we were listening to the radio. And my dad, 2 days later, got on a plane with my brother to go to Israel to show solidarity. So my parents there was never any fear about Israel. We were always taught the safest place to be is Israel as a Jew. So even for me, even when my daughter was supposed to go, I still wanted her to go, even though there was a bombing every other day. But she was scared, and because of circumstances, we didn't send her. But I've never feared sending my children to Israel or going to Israel, ever.
Mm-hmm. Oh. So another question about your grandparents. Did they speak Yiddish at all? Do you remember?
Yes, my father's parents spoke Yiddish, not to me, but they had, you know, words here and there. I think my grandmother spoke Yiddish too, a little bit, yes.
And they didn't want you to understand.
Exactly, exactly, yes.
Did she sing any songs to you?
Nope, not that I recall. Not in Yiddish, no.
Okay. And where did you go to, how did you celebrate the holidays? What do you remember about the holidays?
So the holidays were always very important in our lives. We celebrated all the major holidays. Somehow, the one that's in the summer in August sort of got forgotten a little bit. I can't remember. What's the holiday that's in August?
Or Shavuot or Tisha B'Av?
Yeah, Tisha B'Av, yeah.
The anniversary of the fall of the temple?
Yes, yeah. So that one didn't always get celebrated, although I think we weren't allowed to swim, if I recall, when I was a kid, right? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we weren't allowed to swim. That's how we celebrated it. So yes, we always celebrated the holidays as a family, and Passover was our big holiday. We always had huge seders at home. For a few years, we went up to the Concord in New York, so my mom could get a break from cooking, but otherwise it was my grandmother's in the kitchen, my mother, and we always had 50 people for seders. So, and to this day, seders are very important. This year we celebrated with my parents in Orlando, and there was 39 of us, which is my immediate family, just my brothers and sisters and my parents.
And you went to a day school from grades 1 through 8, is that?
Through preschool,
preschool.
Yes, yes, I did, yes.
And how do you remember the Jewish community in Miami Beach?
So the Jewish community in Miami Beach is very similar, I feel, to the community in Boca Raton that my kids grew up in. It was very Jewish. Even though I went to a public high school, it was very Jewish. So I was used to being in a Jewish world. I didn't really know that the world was not so Jewish until I went to college, and Colorado College in Colorado Springs, and there were 5 other Jewish kids in the school. So, and I still to this day don't know how my parents let me go to a college that had only 5 Jews, but they did. But it was that was the first experience I had. I had a friend who had never met a Jew. She was from Nebraska. I mean, it was a real awakening for me. So I was sort of grew up in a little Jewish shtetl down at Miami Beach. Yeah.
So you were 18. You graduated from high school. How did you decide to go to Colorado for college?
So when I was in high school, my parents wanted to move out to Denver. We had skied in Colorado every winter, and my dad was a builder, and he wanted to do some building out there. So I was the youngest of 4 kids, and I was the last one in high school. And so I graduated a semester early in January, and we moved out to Denver. And I applied, you know, the way people used to apply to college is you used to look at a brochure, and if the school was pretty, you used to send in an application, ask your parents for a $25 check, and they didn't even know where you were applying, and then you got your acceptance letter and you showed up. So
it
basically,
was a lot simpler.
Yes. So basically, that's what I did. I wanted to go down to school at Colorado College in Colorado Springs, but I got waitlisted, so I ended up spending the summer. I said, I'm going to go to school during the summer, and I'm going to meet the professors, and I'm going to get in there, and they're going to love me, and they're going to take me in, which is basically what happened. I don't know that they loved me, but they actually accepted me, and that's how I ended up in Colorado College. And then I eventually transferred up to University of Colorado. But that's how we ended up in Denver.
I imagine the climate and the style of life in Denver was very different from South Florida.
Yes, it wasn't obviously as Jewish, although Denver has a nice Jewish community. At the time, it did have a very nice conservative synagogue that my parents belonged to, Rabbi Wagner, and my parents were very close to them, so they found a nice Jewish life for themselves. But yes, it was very different than the life I had grown up in, but I love it out there, so yeah, they're very happy out there.
And how did you conclude your higher education?
So I went to college for 2 years, and then you have to pick a major. I think it's the same now. You have to declare a major. So every semester I kept declaring a major and taking classes in that major and deciding that that wasn't for me. So after another 1.5 years of doing that, I decided that I should probably take a break because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my high school sweetheart, who is now my husband, at the time we got married. So I was 19 when I got married. No, I was 19 when I got engaged. I was 20 when I got married. And we got married and moved back to Florida. His work was here. His family was in the building business in Florida. So we came back, and that's how we ended up in Boca Raton, Florida.
Oh, and tell us his name.
His name is Robert Levy, and I've known him since I was 11. Our families grew up together. He was not a day school kid, but he actually went on high school in Israel the year before me with my sister. And my sister, the year before, she met her husband on the high school in Israel, who was an Israeli soldier. And they're still married today. For 36 years, they were married the same year that we were married. And we're all very, very good friends, very close friends. So, so my husband and I have been together since I was 16 years old.
And you all have a lot in common.
we have a lot in common, yes.
So you got married in Colorado?
We got married here in Florida at Turnberry Isle. And it was a big wedding, over 400 people. And as I said, our families were very good friends. And so they had a lot of family in common. And we were young. I mean, I was young.
Who was the rabbi that officiated your wedding?
Rabbi Irving Lehrman, who was the rabbi of the big conservative synagogue down in Miami that we grew up in. My father was his first bar mitzvah boy, Rabbi Lehrman, when he moved to, when my dad was here in Florida, in Miami Beach. So had a lot of history with him.
And you bought a home, I assume, in Boca Raton?
Yes, so we bought a townhouse in Loggers Run out west, and my mom came to visit, and she said to me, I don't see any grocery stores or Jewish butchers here. And the only store that was here was Grand Union on 441, and they did not have any kosher meat. But I believe it was in Deerfield Beach, there was a little kosher butcher down there. So we made do with that. But yeah, we were out west, and there was not a lot around here. So we were sort of pioneers in the area a little bit.
So where did people go for the shopping if somebody needed a mikvah or something specialty?
Right.
Where did they go?
So since I'm conservative, and I didn't go to the mikvah, so I really didn't know. And I'm not sure the Boca Raton Synagogue was here yet, or it might have just been started. I don't know what year.
It wasn't.
Okay, it wasn't. So there was a conservative synagogue here. B'nai Torah was here. It was on Glades Road at the time, and we did belong to this. We joined the synagogue. And yeah, there was just Grand Union. I don't remember a Publix in the area. I don't remember a Winn-Dixie in the area. There wasn't a lot out here. And as far as meat goes, that's a kosher butcher, and that's all I really needed. I was a young kid who didn't really need too much. I wasn't looking for a day school. I didn't have kids, so it was just my husband and I, and so we were fine.
Mm-hmm. And where was B'nai Torah? What was the address of Congregation B'nai Torah at that time?
B'nai Torah was on Glades Road, just east of 95. I think it was like Northwest 4th Avenue. I don't know what's there now. It might be a church now. Mm. And they were there for several years, and it was Rabbi Feldman was the rabbi. And then the next rabbi was Rabbi Murray Ezrig, and he was really, he had young kids, and he was very, he really kind of sort of brought us more into the synagogue. We felt very comfortable there. So, and it was conservative. I mean, conservative Judaism has changed so much since I grew up.
Yes, it has.
Yes. So we affiliate now, we belong to Boca Raton Synagogue now, and we joined about 10 years ago. And I believe that modern Orthodoxy is really how I grew up. Traditional conservative Judaism is really modern Orthodox now, because conservative Judaism has gone so much to the left. So, but we were members of B'nai Torah for 25 years, something like that. So.
Mm-hmm. And so, how did things begin to change? How did Boca Raton begin? By the way, you said you got nursing training. How did that happen?
Right. So when we moved to Boca, I didn't have a college degree, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I worked at a bank on A1A for a year as a bank teller and back office, front office, which was not for me. And I always wanted to go into nursing. But when I was in college, my father, I still remember this, my father said to me, Jewish girls are not nurses. Don't go into nursing.
Yes, there is a long-standing prejudice. Jewish men can be doctors, but Jewish girls cannot be nurses.
I remember, I can see the conversation I had with my dad. I said, Dad, I think I want to go into nursing. He's like, you're not going into nursing. Jewish girls are not nurses. And I actually took a biology class to see, do I even like it, which I didn't like. It was a zoology class. I hated the class. Actually, my mother had another child with my same parents. I have a sister that's 19 years younger than me. So when they moved to Denver, and I was out of the house, just had left for college, my mom got pregnant and had my sister. So anyway, that's an aside. So my dad told me not to pursue it. And once I didn't like the sciences, I said, yeah, you know, he's probably right. So after I worked at the bank, I worked at a summer camp for a summer as a counselor, which I loved. I was outside. I loved to be outside. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to take a nursing assistant class. It's 6 weeks. You know, it's going to teach me the basics. I'm going to get in the hospital. I'm going to see if I actually even like it, which is the way I think everybody who wants to pick a profession should have a taste of what the profession is. And so I took a nursing assistant class, and I loved it. And I got a job at a surgical group in Boca Raton, Boca Surgical Associates, and I worked in their office, and I started taking the prerequisites to go back to school to get my nursing degree. And then I attended Palm Beach I think it was Palm Beach Junior College at the time, a long time ago, and I got my my associate degree in nursing there, and then I went into labor and delivery at Bethesda Hospital, and then I worked at West Boca Hospital, and then I opened the unit at Boca Raton Community Hospital 23 years ago. And then my fourth child was born at Boca Raton Community Hospital, and I was able to stay home and raise my kids, which is what I did.
Just as a aside, what do you think about the development of the medical facilities in Boca Raton? They've greatly improved in the last 30 years or so.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when we moved here, everybody went to Bethesda. I mean, I don't think West Boca wasn't even here. So you know, Bethesda was the hospital. And then West Boca opened up, and you know, Boca Regional was always there, but then they added their maternity, and yeah, medically things have definitely, there's a lot of choices out there. So medicine is a whole nother discussion. Yeah, let's not get into that. That would take us about an hour or two.
And just tell us, what was your husband's business?
So my husband's family business was Oriole Homes, and he started out working for them, and then he ended up going on his own and building, well, he did, through Oriole, he did build a project on Montoya Circle, Lago Del Mar, which is still standing today, and that was one of his big projects. And then he went into custom home building on his own and commercial real estate, which is what he's doing now, small shopping centers and Walgreens and CVS's and such like that. So that's what he does now. Mm-hmm. So he's in the building business. So he's seen Boca really grow and develop too, in as far as that aspect goes.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about what were your first forays into the community building? When you were married, you had no children.
Right. So when I was married and had no children, we were really just, you know, newlyweds, and we went to work every day, and we came home, and we really didn't get involved in the community. I think that's pretty normal. I don't think people actually start getting involved in the community till they have children.
That's pretty much the rule.
Right. So my daughter Melissa was born, my first daughter was born in 1985, and that's when we started, you know, thinking, okay, well, what are we going to do for school for her? Not when she was born, but a little while after that. And I always knew that my kids would go to day school. That was always very important to me. My husband was fine with that. So when Melissa was 3, she attended Donna Klein Jewish Academy. And I specifically remember back then that Temple Beth El was the place to send your child. Didn't matter if you were Orthodox, conservative, or Reform. They had, hands down, the best preschool. You had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to stand online to get into the classes at Temple Beth El. But I was not willing to do that because I I didn't think the 3-year-old program was that important. So I just wanted her into a Jewish program. So she did attend Donna Klein's preschool program, and she was fine. She was very happy there, and that was sort of the time that we started thinking, okay, well, is this where she's going to go on for school, or, you know, there was really no option. So in my mind, that's sort of where she was going to be. But Donna Klein at the time, it was sort of a new school, and its reputation for excellence in education was not, you know, top notch. So as a parent of a firstborn child, you know, we're a little
anxious.
Good. You know, everything's got to, by the 4th, trust me, she had to pick her school. But the first one, you know, everything's got to be right. And so that sort of, you know, put a question mark in my head, is this really going to be right for us? And it was actually my husband's cousin, Allison, his first cousin, Allison, and her husband, Jack. They knew they were married, but they had no children at the time. They live in Boca. And Jack had a friend that he went to camp with. And his name was Brad Cohen. And Brad was married to Anna Cohen. And Jack said to me, you know, I have a friend from camp who is starting a new day school here in Boca. You should talk to him. So he gave me the number, and I called my friend. I called Anna, and we had a long conversation on the phone, and then we met them. And Anna had started the first steps into trying to bring a school to Boca Raton. Anna was Orthodox. She lived on Montoya Circle, and she had already started a little preschool there for, you know, modern Orthodox children. And she had already talked to Hillel in North Miami Beach about bringing a branch up to Boca. They were in the early stages.
So there was a Hillel school in North Miami Beach?
Yes, so the Samuel Sheck Hillel Day School has been in Miami Beach since I was a kid. It's been around, I have no idea how long, but a long time, 30, 40, 50 years. And it had a great reputation. When she told me she had talked to Hillel in North Miami Beach, I was like, yes, that's where I want to send my kids, because I knew that they had a great reputation of education.
And there was some discussion that they might set up a satellite school in Boca Raton.
Right. So Anna had actually gone to them and talked to them about would they be interested in doing that, and they were open to the idea. So it was really at the beginning stages, but she had done a lot of the groundwork to get to that point, because she needed a school for her kids, because Donna Klein was really not, it was not enough for an Orthodox Jew. Although it was a day school, she wanted a more traditional education, a 50-50 curriculum, you know, 50% of the day English and 50% of the day Judaic studies, and Donna Klein was not like that.
Well, I'm going to ask a question. What was the curriculum at Donna Klein at the time that you recall?
So my daughter was only in preschool, so to be honest with you, I can't remember, but I know that it was not a 50-50 curriculum. I know that I think they probably spent 75% of their day on English studies, and then they had Hebrew language class, and I think they had a Judaic class. So it was pretty much 2 periods of Jewish, and then the rest was secular studies.
Okay.
As I recall, I think that's how it went.
Okay, go ahead.
So Anna and Brad were having a parlor meeting at their house to bring, you know, for people who were interested, and we went.
Where did they live? What was it like?
They live on Montoya Circle. Anna is still in the house that we had our first parlor meeting in, and it's right across the street from the synagogue. I can't remember which community, but right on Montoya Circle. And there were, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 families that were there and were interested, and it was amazing. And Anna and I really connected, and we started started the ball rolling together from that point on. And the community of Boca, unfortunately, they were a little bit resistant to bringing in another day school into the community, because Donna Klein was a new school. It was not a huge school, and they really didn't want the competition of having another day school competing against them. They wanted, you know, whatever kids wanted day school, they wanted to take them in. So it was a little bit of a battle. We went through a lot of meetings and discussions, and so it was a difficult time, because for me, it was very hard to believe that Jewish people would not embrace another Jewish organization moving to the community. It was really it was a very difficult time for me. I couldn't understand it. How could they be fighting against us bringing a Jewish day school to Boca Raton? But they did, and but in the end, I think it was great for both schools, because eventually each school, as you know, competition makes everybody sort of rise to the occasion, and each school settled into the right kind of the right kids that should be at each school. So
you said before the interview that Hillel Day School was not originally meant to be a purely Orthodox school.
Right, correct. So the Samuel Shuck Hillel Day School is a community day school down in North Miami Beach, and it continues to be a community day school. They're a very traditional Jewish day school, and they were a 50-50 curriculum. When we started the school, we had 42 children the first day we opened our doors here, and we were 30% Orthodox, 30% Reform, and 30% conservative. And the families in the school, to this day, we still know each other, we still love each other. It was just such a small, group of pioneers that started something, and were very committed. I mean, I think Anna and we would drop our kids in the morning, but really not drop them, because we never left the school. We were either doing lice checks, because we were both nurses. we were putting Band-Aids on boo-boos. We were doing lunches. We were basically there all day, every day, trying to, make this school successful. I think the first week, the building, we were housed in B'nai Torah synagogue, and it wasn't ready, so we had to start school somewhere else for a few weeks. There's a million stories, but we did open our doors, and we did have 42 families. And the most important point I want to make is that this school was really built on mutual respect from all the different, from Orthodox, conservative, and Reform. Respect meaning that if you were inviting a kid to your birthday party, a child, it was a birthday party, and you're not kosher, that you would be sensitive enough to make sure that that child felt comfortable. And everybody wanted to do what was in the best interest of everybody. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't always happen in Judaism, unfortunately, in the Jewish community. But it really was built like that. And then the school took its, many turns. Brad and Anna Cohen honestly were they were the major contributors at the beginning of the school. We had a lot of families, but everybody was, new families with new kids, not a lot of money. So, giving $1,000 back then was like giving $50,000. So. But every year we had fundraisers and raised money, and there were a lot, people really stepped up to the plate and did what we need to do in order to grow the school. So every year was a new, one year we were closing the school, one year it was going to be okay. We hired headmasters. There was the normal growing pains of schools. And then the whole big issue was, what are we? Are we a community school, or are we an Orthodox day school? And that eventually, after many turns, settled into that Hillel is an Orthodox day school. And that's really where it needed to be.
Can you tell us a little about how that got decided?
Oh, yes. I can tell you. The biggest issue, this is pretty funny, but the big issue was mixed dancing, because Samuel Shuck Hillel Day School, they had their big journal dinner every year, and they had mixed dancing. And we basically, we were an offshoot of them. Two of the teachers from down there came up here to start the school. The administration oversaw the school here. So we were really a part of the Samuel Shuck Hillel Day School. So we weren't reinventing the wheel. We were just a continuation of that. So they had a journal dinner, there was mixed dancing. We had a journal dinner, there was mixed dancing. But as the years went on, and the Orthodox community wanted more, a little bit more to the right, and Rabbi Brander became very involved in the school at the time. At the beginning of the school, it was really more of Rabbi Ezrig, the conservative rabbi, and then slowly but surely Rabbi Brander really came in because he needed certain things for his kids in the community.
Do you remember when Rabbi Brander came onto the scene?
I don't remember, but Anna would know. She knows everything. She has every date written down. So the big issue was mixed dancing, because that kind of is a definition of who you are. Well, the people who were not Orthodox, they wanted mixed dancing. I mean, that's what we do. But the people who were more to the right said, well, you know,
gender segregation.
Right. And that was a 2-year issue that we discussed. We didn't discuss education. We didn't discuss anything important except mixed dancing.
Now, this was mixed dancing at the Journal.
Just at the Journal.
It wasn't even for the children in the school.
Nothing to do with the school. And then, you know, that's how things go. You know, you get wrapped up in something that has nothing to do. But honestly, it was an extremely important defining moment in our school, because once we decided that there would be no more mixed dancing, the school really did take its turn to become an Orthodox day school. And a lot of people were not, you know, left the school because no longer did they feel that this was a school of a community. It was more, this was an Orthodox day school. So people who felt comfortable with that, which was me, and people like me, were fine. But I think a lot of the Reform families that were in the school did not feel comfortable, and therefore, you know, we lost some families at the time. Mm-hmm. So it was a big issue.
Mm-hmm. And when did the Hillel Day School get its present building on the present campus? Were you involved in that?
Yes, I was involved in it. So I was co-president 1 year with Ellen Channing, who is a very dear friend of mine. Her kids all went to Hillel, and her son Seth was the first graduating class in 6th grade there. And my daughter was the first graduating class in 8th grade there. I believe it was, I don't know the years, but the school was built, Deborah Mashad was president of the school, and she really built that school. She oversaw the whole building of the school. And we built the school on, you know, a promise and a prayer. We had no business building a school. We had no money. We had, you know, we just had commitment, and we had guts, and we knew that if we built it, that people would hopefully come, and then they would, you know, see and do, and they did. Another family that was really an integral part, came in at the right time, is Teddy and Linda Struhl, and they were instrumental in donating a large amount of money to help us, you know, build this school and take it to the next step. So yeah, it was really exciting to build the school.
How did you go about getting teachers for it? Did they have to move into the community?
You know, the principal, we went through a lot of principals in the first 10 years of Hillel. And eventually, and I don't know the year of this, eventually we separated from Hillel in North Miami Beach and became our own Hillel school. We no longer were the Samuel Sheck Hillel Day School. We became our own entity. And
I assume that was by mutual agreement.
It was by mutual agreement. It had to do with, you know, the Orthodox issue, and we were no longer going to be a community day school. And I don't remember all the details, but I remember it was an amicable, we need to separate, and we're going to go on our way and do what we did. And we are, to this day, grateful and thankful to them, because the school would not be here without the support of all the administrators and the people who gave their time. And some of them have passed away. Dorothy Gruen, she was amazing, and Irv Canner also passed away, and these are people that were instrumental. And the Shacks, who the Hillel Day School in North Miami Beach is named after, they were so supportive of us at the time. So without them, there would be no school up here in Boca. But yeah, so when we built the school, we built this beautiful big building. And the teachers came, you know, the principal at the time, and I think it was Rabbi Schwartz. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was Rabbi Schwartz. He found teachers, and it was the community at the time was really growing, so especially the Orthodox community. So you had a lot of people coming into the community and wanting to be here. So at the time, so it wasn't. I don't think it was difficult getting teachers, mm-hmm. as I recall.
Mm-hmm. And are you still involved in the Hillel School?
So Dan Katz, who's been the president of the school for many years, and he was sent from Hashem to take the school again to the next level and making the school. He's been financially and personally involved in that school for, I don't know, would say 10 years. He called me 2 years ago and said, "You got to sit on the board again." So I am on the board in the school. So I can't say that I'm active on a daily basis, but Hillel is part of my heart and my soul. It always will be. When I walk on that campus, I walk around and I can't believe that this building and over 600 kids are being educated in a place that was just a dream and a thought. And I think that's really a point I want to make, because here I was 26, 27 years old, and we had an idea, and we weren't special. We were just ordinary people who wanted to do something for our children. And fast forward to today, and I walk on this campus of a building, and that's how things happen. So it's pretty remarkable. It's a lesson to be taught to children, that you can make a difference. Everybody can make a difference. You don't have to be any special. You just have to have a drive and a passion for something, and you can make things happen.
And all 4 of your children graduated from there?
So 3 of my kids graduated from there. Michael, my third child, he actually ended up going to public school, because one of the years when there was transition of administrators, the negative of sending your child to a school that you have started is your children are the guinea pigs. So every year, it was a new teacher, it was a new this, it was a new that. So you sort of sacrifice your own family. But in the end, I wouldn't have done it any differently. But Michael, he was not, the Jewish side of the school was difficult for him. And the principal came in and he said, "This year it's going to be Ivrit Be'Ivrit. All the classes are going to be taught in Hebrew." And Michael basically went to class and was like frustrated and upset and angry. And he's a happy, wonderful kid. So it wasn't the right place for him at the right time. So he didn't end up graduating there, but he was there through 6th grade. So he went on to go to many Jewish programs, and but it is what it was.
So tell us, what other community institutions have you and your husband been involved in besides the Hillel Day School?
So Hillel, obviously is our #1 love of our lives forever, and we will always be proud of that. My youngest daughter went to Weinbaum Yeshiva High School, which was not around. Well, actually, Weinbaum started the year that my daughter graduated Hillel. She was a senior, and they were going to open their first year. And I could not pioneer this kid for the next 4 years of her education. So
Hillel only goes to 8th grade.
It only goes to 8th grade, right? So for high school at the time, I don't believe that Donna Klein even had a high school. So the only option was Yeshiva High School, and I think they were going to have 10 kids in the first year, and then locally there was public school, which we weren't in a very good school district. And believe it or not, 3 of my children ended up at St. Andrews, and that's where they graduated from. And it was the right place at the right time. And Dennis Prager always said, if you're not going to send your kids to a day school, then send them to a religious school, a Christian or Episcopalian school, because they'll know they're Jewish. And that's pretty much really what happened. And St. Andrews is a 40% Jewish school, so they
that much.
Yes, it was 40% at the time, a lot of Jewish kids. But anyway, they went there, and Katie, my youngest, went to Yeshiva High School, which was phenomenal. And the fact that the school now is unbelievable, and they have a building right across the street from Donna Klein, which will be opening in September, is just amazing for this community. I can't believe it. So other organizations. So over the years, we were very involved in our synagogue, B'nai Torah, for many, many years. I sat on the board and was very involved there. And then about 10 or 15 years ago, we moved over to Boca Raton Synagogue, mainly because our daughter went to Hillel, and all her friends and all these families that we loved were members there, and we love it there. It's such a community. We really feel welcome and warm and loved, and it's wonderful.
Boca Raton Synagogue.
Boca Raton Synagogue, yeah, yes. So my husband but my husband really sits on the board of JARC, Jewish Association of Residential Care, and it is a program that does a lot of things for adults with special needs adults. And I told you he's a builder, so he had a piece of land on 441 and Yamato Road, and he and his partner donated a piece of that land in back of the shopping center they built to build 5 homes for JARC. So they have 8 residents live in a home, and these are people that go to work every day. They have somebody who lives there and takes care of them, and it's such a wonderful organization. They're on the Federation campus. They bring in people during the day to train them to do jobs, and so they do all kinds of things. But my husband at the time, that's really when he became involved in JARC, and he sits on the board as vice president, and we love the organization. We think they do really good work. There's so many wonderful organizations, but they do amazing work. So,
have you been involved in the Federation at all?
So I would say not really. So Federation was, at the time when we moved to Boca, and it's funny because our parents were very involved in Federation down in Miami. We grew up in a Federation family, especially my husband. My husband's father was president of Miami Jewish Federation down there for many years, and we went on missions with them. So we were really Federation kids. We grew up. But when we moved to Boca, it just wasn't right for us, and Federation was one of the organizations, well, actually it was the organization that really fought us against bringing Hillel to Boca. And that really sort of put a bad taste in our mouth. And I know things have changed over the years, but we've affiliated with other things in the community. We've done things with Federation, but I wouldn't say that I was really involved in Federation. I think they do good work. I think they do some really good work, but we've just put our efforts in other places.
What do you remember? Are there any incidents? I was very interested when you talked about the mixed dancing controversy. Are there any other incidents where there was something tachlis, something, whether it was something to do with Israel, or something to do with men and women, or something to do with kosher food, where there was some kind of machloket or argument or turning point in the community that you remember? Do you remember any incidents
in the community
like that?
Or just Hillel?
In Hillel or in the community in general?
To be honest with you, no. I am telling you that it's funny, but that really, mixed dancing, the only issue. No, there was really no other, to my knowledge, there's not really any other issues that I really can think of. Once Hillel came here, and Donna Klein has its own place and its own purpose, and I think Hillel does also. I think the community has settled into itself, and as we talked a little bit earlier, this community is such a beautiful community because I think that all the rabbis work together. There's no conservative Orthodox reform. We're not fighting against each other. We're working together, and I just think that's such an important thing for community, and we see it here. I'm very fortunate.
How do you see Chabad as fitting into that?
So we love Chabad, and my husband also donated, well, he didn't donate. He graciously helped Chabad on military, and Clint Moore acquired the land behind a shopping center that he did there, Rabbi Denberg, who we absolutely love. So my husband got the phone call when this piece of land took him about 7 years to get zoned and all this, and he was going to build apartment buildings behind the shopping center that he was building. And then the phone call came in. It was Rabbi Denberg. He wanted to talk to Rabbi. And I said to him, don't talk to the rabbi. If you talk to the rabbi, there's not going to be apartment buildings, I promise you. He's like, I have to talk to the rabbi. So he comes home from the meeting, and of course he says, there's going to be a synagogue behind our And Rabbi Denberg had somebody who was going to donate the money to buy the land at cost, and my husband helped Rabbi Denberg, and happily. We love Chabad. Good guys, good rabbis. We only have wonderful things and wonderful things to say about them. Yes.
What do you remember about the way Boca Raton developed physically? What do you remember? How do you remember where the city ended or began? And that's one thing I want to ask you. And then I want to ask you about what do you remember about the shopping and the restaurants that cropped up over the years?
Okay, so traffic. So I lived in West Boca and Loggers Run, which is all the way west on Glades Road, 440, or Palmetto Park Road. But I used to go to work all the way east on the ocean.
And you moved in 1981, and you were living in West Boca.
Yes.
What was West Boca?
Nothing. There was nothing there. There was Loggers Run, but it was at its, at its beginning stages. We lived in a townhouse here, and there was tons of land, and I was a runner, so I used to be able to run for miles, and there was no housing or anything back there. It was very quiet. It wasn't farmland because it was going to be developed into what it is today, but it was just open land back there. My husband and I, one day, a year after we moved to Loggers Run, we were riding our bicycles on Clintmore Road, and we rode our bikes into this community. In Clintmore Road, there was nothing. That was farmland. We rode our bikes into this community called Horseshoe Acres, and there was cows and horses and farmland, and there was a house that had a sign, for sale sign by owner. So we knocked on the door. My hair was in a ponytail. I was 20 years old. And we're like, we want to see your house. And that's the house we live in now. We've lived there for 36 years. So we bought our house. We walked into this house, and it's on 5 acres of land, and we have cows, and it's a little piece of farm that's still in Boca Raton, but we watched things build up. So the traffic on Glades Road was always terrible. I think it was 2 lanes when we moved in, and now it's what it is.
How many traffic lights were there?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Not many. There were traffic lights though, but it was very quiet. There weren't a lot of restaurants. I don't even remember the restaurants, but there was not a lot to do out in West Boca. So, and that's what we liked about it, because we really always envisioned ourselves living sort of in a rural area, like quiet, and no longer is it like that, except where we live in Horseshoe Acres. It's still pretty quiet back there. But yeah, it was a lot of development over the last. I wish I was just smart enough to buy up more land back then, and then hold on to it, and then sell it when it went crazy in prices.
What do you remember about kosher restaurants, for example, or things like that opening up?
Right. Well,
kosher shopping.
I don't think there's been a lot. Kosher restaurants haven't been around that long. I don't think in Boca, and good kosher restaurants anyway. I think now we have quite a few, but still not so many. It'd be nice to have a few more. But and then kosher marketplace. Delray always. I don't know how long the butcher in Delray's been there, but they've been around.
Was there for a while.
Glick's was there for a while, so that's where I used to go shopping. But then when Boca Marketplace opened, that was every time something opened up, it was phenomenal, wonderful for the community. But the community needs it now. I mean, I don't know how large the Orthodox community is, but it's pretty big.
Did you ever notice any tensions or differences between East Boca, the city of Boca Raton, and West Boca? Did that ever affect your life at all?
No, not really. I think the people who are west stay west, and the people who stay east. My husband probably, through building, he would know, if there was more of a, but no, it never really affected me as far as, not really.
Do you ever remember when you moved here encountering any anti-Semitism or any negative attitudes or anything that struck you as strange when you first came here?
No, I really felt, even in the early stages when it wasn't a huge Jewish community, I don't remember ever feeling that there was any anti-Semitism in Boca Raton. I mean, I never felt that way. And I think my kids growing up, as I said, it was really a little Jewish shtetl, even though we weren't living on the circle. We didn't live on Montoya Circle. We live in Clintmore Road. But we were the second Jews to move into our neighborhood, and now the neighborhood has a lot of Jewish people. So no, I never encountered it in Boca Raton, even in the early years.
Did you ever hear anybody else talk about it?
No, not really. Mm-mm.
And if you could talk about this community to young bar mitzvah kids, for example, listening to this, what would you want to tell them?
I would like to tell them that getting involved and giving back is the greatest gift that you can give to yourself. When you think you're giving to others, it's really something that you give yourself. And just what I said earlier, that everybody and anybody can make a difference in the world and in the community, and I think that's why we're here. So find something that you like, that you've become passionate about, and make a difference.
Linda, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you very much.